Welcome to Go Ratio. We are here to improve our skills in the legal reasoning section of CLAT. And the way we are going to do it is to run through past year questions from the legal reasoning section of CLAT. Now, the pattern of questions in CLAT in the legal reasoning section is that there is a passage which is given in the beginning. And on the basis of that passage, 4 or 5 questions are asked. So, the method by which we are going to attempt these questions is to quickly read through the passage and then remember the top most important points from it and then attempt to solve the questions. So the first paragraph here talks about the principles of natural justice and that it is not codified. Not codified as in it is no statute has been made from it. It is not derived from any statute or constitution. It is a principle of natural justice which everyone must abide by. Now here it says in the second paragraph that what matters is the procedure through which a decision has been arrived at. The decision itself is not relevant. What is relevant is the procedure. So in paragraph 1, we saw that it was uncodified, and in second paragraph, we saw that the procedure matters. In the third paragraph, it says that there are 3 principles of natural justice: hearing rule, bias rule, and reasoned decision. Hearing rule says that the person who is affected by the decision made by the panel of expert members should be given a fair opportunity to express their point of view and defend themselves. So whoever is being affected, that person must be given an opportunity to be heard. Bias rule means the panel of experts should be free from bias while taking the decision. The decision should be given in a free and fair manner which fulfills the rule of natural justice. The third is a reasoned decision. The order, decision, or judgment of the court must be given by the presiding authorities with a valid and reasonable ground. So, 3 rules of principles of natural justice: hearing rule, that every party must be given an opportunity to be heard; bias rule, meaning that the person who is giving the decision should not be interested in making the decision; and third, that the decision should be given based on reasons. So these principles of natural justice have been adopted and followed by the judiciary to protect people public rights against arbitrary decisions by administrative authorities. So overall, we have 5 points. First point is it is uncodified. Second is that the decision making procedure should be reasonable. The third is that there are three. The third is hearing rule. Fourth is bias rule. Fifth is reasoned decisions. So it says nemo judex in causa sua, or the principle that no one can be a judge in his own case, relates to which of the following rule of natural justice? This relates to the bias rule, because bias rule says that you should not be interested in making a decision in your own matter. So if you were to decide your own matter, it would be bias. So answer would be bias rule. Mr. X is a public servant employed in a PSU, and Mrs. Y, who is the wife of Mr. X, is also an employee in the same PSU. PSU means a public sector undertaking. Miss A files a complaint against Mr. X for sexual harassment at workplace before ICC, Internal Complaints Committee, which is headed by Mrs. Y. After completing her inquiry, she held that Mr. X is guilty and recommended disciplinary proceedings against him. Now, on what grounds may Mr. X challenge her findings? So, Mr. X is the accused who is hearing the proceedings. Mrs. Y. Who is Mrs. Y? Mrs. Y is the wife of Mr. X. Therefore, she has some personal interest in the decision. If you remember, the passage says the decision does not matter. What matters is the procedure by which the decision was arrived at. Therefore, Mr. X can say Mrs. Y was my wife, and since she is my wife, she was biased in the decision. So, so the correct answer would be C. Mrs. Y is the wife of Mr. X and she holds a personal bias in the case. So the inquiry should not have been conducted by her. Okay. Mr. A is a judge and he is also the landlord of Mr. B, who resides in an apartment owned by Mr. A. Due to non-payment of rent for 3 consecutive months, Mr. A served an eviction notice to Mr. B. Now choose the most appropriate option amongst the following. Now see, Mr. A has a tenant. The tenant has not paid rent. Mr. A then served a legal notice upon Mr. B. Has Mr. A acted in any judicial or administrative capacity? No. Mr. A has simply given a notice that, look, you have not been paying rent. Please either pay rent or leave. So if no administrative or judicial action has been taken, the question of bias does not arise. Therefore, the answer would be D. Mr. A issued such notice in his personal capacity as a landlord and not being a judge. Had he issued a judgment against Mr. B, had Mr. A issued a judgment against Mr. B, then we would have said, oh, that this judgment is biased because Mr. A is making a judgment in his own case. But here, is a judgment being made? No, it is just a legal notice. And as a private citizen, Mr. A can issue a legal notice to Mr. B. Which of the following is not in violation of principles of natural justice? Withholding of an increment of a public servant without giving him an opportunity to defend. This is in violation of principles of natural justice because in increment for a public servant is a right. And if that right is being violated, that right must be violated only after being given an opportunity to be heard. Therefore, A is in violation of principles of natural justice. Non-renewal of a contract of an employment of an employee after the period of contract is over. Now see, if the contract is over, there is no right. If there is no right and the contract is not being renewed, then is any right violated? No, because the right ended when the contract ended. If the right ended, then does an opportunity need to be given? No. So the answer will be B. We will still check if C is correct, but B will be the answer. Initiating a departmental inquiry against a public servant without giving him an opportunity to submit representation during such inquiry. So if during such inquiry opportunity is not given, that will violate the rule to be heard. To be heard. So this public servant should have been given an opportunity to be heard. So the answer will be B. On the basis of your understanding about natural justice in the passage above, state which of the following is true. Adherence to reasoned decision rule is not required if other two rules are complied with. Nothing like this is mentioned in the passage. The passage says all three rules have to be followed. Compliance of bias rule itself rejects the need of hearing and reasoned decision rule. Also, not mentioned in the passage. All three rules, according to the passage, need to be fulfilled. Principle of natural justice is incomplete without compliance of any of its rules. That is correct. This is true. So I hope everyone was able to understand this passage and its questions. Thank you. We will meet again for another passage in due time.